What's going on YouTube? JT here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War Scorched Earth. God, I can't even talk right now. Scorched Earth #1. Also, happy Halloween. My favorite time of year is here. Halloween. Love this holiday. It's a little bit chilly outside, but you know what? We're here. We're talking about this, and I got a Detective Comics issue, and then I'll be all set in terms of DC comic books for the week. But let's talk about the big one, the conclusion to the Gotham War, if you can even really call it that. I mean, this was billed as like Batman versus Catwoman, and the two of them don't even like fight at all. I mean, what a big waste of time. Batman fights the Bat family, but when Selina shows up, he turns into like a pathetic simp, even with the Zerana influence and all. And then the conclusion to this thing, you know how they had this big conflict about like what Selina was doing versus what Batman was doing. That feels kind of cast aside. Like they brush over all these various issues, like in terms of like what was stirring this conflict, because then the event sort of pivots into like a Vandal Savage thing, and it's not even a very good Vandal Savage storyline. I mean, he buys the manor. At one point, Jason Todd is like, whoa, you're slipping, old man. Like, how'd you let the manor get sold? Well, Jason, Bruce was in a coma for 2 freaking months. You'd think you guys would be there to kind of keep an eye on things, but no, that's not really the case at all. So, and then there's also like a ridiculous kind of thing at the ending, which like, in terms of like continuity, trying to mesh all these things together, it kind of like doesn't make much sense. I mean, in Batman and Robin, we just had the Bruce talking to Damian about how there's all these big, huge security measures he has at their place within the city to kind of keep an eye on things so that, you know, stuff like this doesn't go down. But apparently that's just kind of like thrown aside when Dick kind of like shut everything off. But you'd think that would just securely lock everything up or whatnot. I don't know. Like, a lot of these heroes are like portrayed as kind of dumb here. So anyway, so all these different goons, Vandal Savage and that, go into the city and they start to fight. I mean, you have Two-Face and that showing up, and you have Black Mask and all these other kind of like different villains. Batman and Catwoman kind of agree to put aside their differences in order to stop this stuff that's going on. Like I said, Jason at one point is still not cured of what happened. Bruce is there. There's still a little bit of that Zerna influence. Also, Duke kind of makes an appearance in this thing. Where the hell were you during this event is beyond me. But hey, he just goes there to fight. And like I said, the Bat family of that kind of takes down these various villains, if you will. It ultimately comes down to Vandal Savage and his whole thing with pulling this meteor, which gives him his immortality powers to Earth. The Bat family eventually like teams up, kind of stops these bad guys, and Savage ultimately like gets caught up in the crossfire, if you will. Like in a sense, I'll get to that in a second. But so this meteor is coming to Earth. Jason Todd, despite being under that whole fear thing, trying to pull a Dark Knight Rises, was like with no autopilot and all that to kind of go drive right into this meteorite to kind of sacrifice himself. But it leaves you in suspense for about 5 seconds, and we kind of find out that he's okay. And then you have Vandal Savage. He's like, I feel the power of this meteor or whatever. And then he grabs it like, wait, this is different. He screams, and then he kind of like vanishes in a kablooey. Catwoman's kind of the same deal, although the very next comic book I'm going to talk about today, which is Detective Comics set after Gotham War, shows that she's perfectly fine. So everything within this issue about like, is she going to be all right, is just nah, she's gonna be totally fine. They don't even kind of tease you what's next for her. But anyway, so all that stuff happens. Bruce talks about how he's just kind of like losing a little bit. He's like, I loved her, and now all this stuff keeps happening and it's gone. I don't even know like what I'm doing with myself anymore. Dick is like, hey, you need help, man. You've kind of been going a little bit far with these things. Maybe he should call in the Justice League, or, oh wait, that's right, they disbanded the Justice League and like line for the Titans, if you will. So Bruce is kind of like, you take care of them, Dick. You're like, you and Babs are like the real leaders of this thing. I'm going to go away for a little bit, except in the events of Batman and Robin or whatever. But then we get this little like thing where he talks to Riddler. Like, I guess he sort of worked with him. They mention the 3 Jokers and whatnot. I don't know, it's just a bunch of like nonsense or whatever. It seems like Catwoman's kind of okay here or whatnot. And then kind of the ending of this thing, I don't know if it's at Wayne Manor or if it's at his little house within the city, but somebody's like, wait a minute, Bruce Wayne is Batman? So it's either Wayne Manor or some other place within the city. They don't quite fully make it like 100% clear where this spot is at, if you will, but some random criminal discovers that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So it's either his home at the manor or it's his home someplace else. Like, they don't really showcase, but I don't get why there isn't like higher security measures so that thieves can't just break into this stuff. I mean, you'd think like some of them would kind of like plant their feet in Wayne Manor and be like, okay, Vandal Savage just bought the place. How he did that is, you know, through like whatever measures he did. Why there was nobody there keeping an eye on things. Like, why is nobody thinking things through? I mean, yeah, they have little mini bat caves across the city, if you will, to kind of keep some of their stuff in case of emergency. But the point is, like, stuff like this, they're supposed to be really smart, but they're all kind of written to be very dumb within this event. And again, like, the main conflict between Batman and Catwoman about, like, Selina's plan to stop criminals by training them to become better criminals, which ultimately backfires, but there's not really a big discussion about, like, the stuff that's gone on. Like, the stuff with Jason, he's not really cured, but he's still kind of acted to try and stop some stuff, but he seems to be sort of okay, I guess, unless they're also working on a cure for him or whatnot. The stuff with Zur's kind of brushed aside. Bruce just kind of runs away. The whole, like, family fighting or whatever, like, that's kind of, like, brushed aside. So it's like we just kind of glossed over the stuff so Bruce can kind of go off and do his own thing again, even though we're going to get, like, Batman and Robin. Like I said, like, putting this book, Detective Comics, and Batman and Robin, like, all, like, simultaneously, it just feels kind of messy. It doesn't really feel like it all meshes together very well. And again, like, the conclusion to this event was nothing all that special. I was teased Batman versus Catwoman, and they don't even fight in this event. Like, how lame is that? I mean, they just get into a little bit of an argument, but they should have, like, we should have got some, like, fist fighting. Like, you'd think Zur and Al would have been like, oh, all right, I'm gonna, like, fight Selina. But of course, you know, we can't have that anymore, but Batman can beat up the Bat family. But we can't have him fight Selina when he's under the influence of Zur and Al. At least give us a fight or whatnot. But, like, their whole conflict just felt like it was brushed aside so, like, kind of rather quickly. And, like, all the issues that they brought up, yeah, whatever, we're just gonna kind of sort of ignore it. Like, this just felt like a waste of time, this entire event. Like I said, the start of the conflict got kind of, like, thrown in on the wayside just for this Vandal Savage storyline, which, I mean, it was kind of a neat idea for him to buy the banner, but again, that's kind of glossed aside rather quickly. And then the epilogue where why doesn't anybody have any, like, more secure measures at Wayne Manor and all these other things. So I don't know what's going on with this event. This was just a big dud for me, and I think it was a dud for a lot of people. I mean, the Bat family siding, like, any of them siding with Selina's whole point of view, like, they all kind of look like morons here. But again, like, there's no real, like, discussion at the end of it, like, hey, look, Bruce, you went a little bit too far, but we also went a little bit too far. I mean, we all just acted really dumb. There's really none of that in this, like, comic book at all. I mean, there's the conversation with Dick and Bruce at the end, and Dick is like, hey, you're not, like, doing so well, but then he just kind of goes off and does his own thing. So yeah, I don't know, it's just some dumb stuff with this event. I mean, the artwork itself is okay throughout the issue, not necessarily, like, my favorite, but it just, the storyline that it accompanies has just not been, like, the best overall. So yeah, Gotham War is over, so that's a plus for me. As soon as this ends, we're now going into another bi-weekly event with Detective Comics. That's just what I want to hear. Like, more events, like, more. But then again, like, at least Detective Comics, I mean, that storyline has been taking a really long time that Ramvy's been, like, going on, but at least it's, like, every issue is kind of, like, slowly building onto something rather than, like, detouring, like, some other, like, avenue, if you will, so much. It's like, it's still like the Orcams and Batman and all that stuff, although I do have some questionable things to say about that comic book as well, so we'll get to talking about that in a second. But anyways, if you read Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War Scorched Earth, what did you think of it? What did you think of this event in general? Let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications, all that other fun stuff. And that's going to wrap it up for me on this video. Happy Halloween, and I hope you all stay awesome. So peace out, everyone.